This is Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given is not intended to replace that of your business advisor. Now, let's get down to talking about your business, your success. This is Business Talk.
Well, good afternoon, Peg.
Good afternoon. Great to be here.
Here we go again.
Yes.
Another fine football Saturday.
Yes, and you know what's great is that I love our topic for today.
Yes.
It's Pete and I have been coaching. Now, we're business coaches. We've been coaching for
14
14
years. Yep.
You're 14, I'm 13, so I guess I can
A long
say
time.
14. Yes.
Yeah.
And through that,
time.
we have learned, if you can imagine, all we do is go into company after company and person after person and talk to them. We learn from them. We teach. And so what we're going to do today, all of this learning is accumulated with us.
Right.
And so we have now created what is called
Peg and Pete's 10 leadership rules.
Yes. So we're talking leadership today.
You're going to love it.
I like it.
The part of this got us going is a week or two ago, we were going through some research and we found an article about how to lead like George Washington.
Okay.
Which I thought was really cool.
I love that one.
And
yes.
that's in one of our rules is how to, some of the things that he did that applies to these. And we thought, well, you know what? We've seen a lot. I mean, we both had corporate careers, and then we've been coaching for the last 14 years. So we've got the experience of all these leaders that we've worked with in all these different situations. And there are some common things that, when done well, will help the company soar.
Exactly. And it matters. And you know what? When leadership isn't done right, it can kill your company.
Oh, you'll lead them to the wrong place.
Yes. I like that. You will. I mean, they're going to follow you. What place does that
Let's
look
create
like?
a culture where people are yelling at each other.
And
All
getting
right, cool.
mad and talking bad about each other and creating drama.
Okay.
That serves us well. How's that working for you? For goodness sakes. We got to stop that
And that
stuff.
doesn't happen too often, but that's not where we're headed, right?
Well, I mean, not with us.
Sometimes that happens naturally, and you don't even notice it. And after a couple of years, you go, wow, what happened to this place?
Well, I think it happens often, Pete.
And it's gradual.
I think it's everywhere. It doesn't happen often when we're coaching.
Right.
I mean,
right.
we stop that stuff. But it's amazing how much is allowed and how much you as a leader allow.
Now, a couple months ago, Peg organized this event. And it's only 3 times a year. It's called the President's Club, and it's our clients, and it's the presidents or CEOs of companies, and most of them are in the Midwest, in Columbus area here, metropolitan area, but some come from out of town for it. But the previous one, we just had one a few weeks ago, but the one before that, one of the things that we talked about was leadership, and one of the things that we got across to those business owners is that part of their job as the CEO is to protect the culture. They're the person who really gets to decide whether the culture is acceptable or not.
Correct.
It's up to them.
Correct.
And they're the ones that have to hang on to it and hold it dear. You know?
I agree. So, that is good. So that's what our topic is going to be.
That's the topic.
Now, but before that, we want to talk a little bit, update Pete on the news.
Good news. We always try to do some good news. Yeah.
Yeah.
So stock market's up, stock market's down. You know what? Yeah, that stuff's going to happen. But in general, the economy's doing really well still. I mean, everything we see, it's doing really well.
And we see, we're just saying that we're seeing that it will continue to do well into next year.
Yeah. Yeah, and the people that we talk to, and we've got some companies that are in businesses where they're fairly sensitive to interest rate changes. Well, interest rates are going up. Yeah, that's a fact. And it has not slowed industrial or construction activity in any big way that we can see at this point.
Right. It's going well. Okay. So,
anyway. It's going great. The other thing that we've done a little bit of research here. One of them, and you've seen this, Peg, a little bit, is we have a couple out of our 30-plus clients. We have a couple that are in retail businesses, one small, one large. And this article here is about e-commerce reshaping grocery stores. So some of the big grocery store chains are getting into e-commerce. It's still a small part of what they do, but it's growing steadily.
Right.
And they're working on it really hard to try to increase the amount that's happening online. So e-commerce represents less than 5% of U.S. grocery sales currently, but food and beverage sales are growing far faster online than in traditional supermarkets. They predict that by 2022, the U.S. online grocery market will be total $36 billion.
Does it say what percent? Like if it's saying it's so little now,
it's 5% currently. It doesn't say what it will be. It just says that by 2022, which isn't that far away, it'll be $36 billion. Sounds like a lot.
Well, and it's interesting with this week with us hearing, of course, Sears going bankrupt. And we always hate to hear things like that because they're a company. But you know what? You've got to be on the edge. You've got to be innovating.
We're talking about change.
Right.
And some of the companies that are changing have been changing. Walmart, Kroger, Target. These are not, when you think of jazzy companies, you think of SpaceX or something like that. Well, these companies are changing because they know they have to.
Right.
And they're putting in the infrastructure and the research to do it.
To do it.
So
right.
we challenge you to take a look at your business and think about where's it going to be in 10 years, and what are we going to be doing in 10 years that maybe not even started yet.
Right. That is an excellent exercise.
Other piece of good news is this is interesting because I'd like to look at these technology things. It's got a picture of a launch of one of these big rockets. Jeff Bezos, he has lots of money. He's very rich, but he's doing things crazy. They're launching rockets, and we had been buying Russian engines, and they're being replaced by Amazon engines. Of course, it's his other company. It's Blue Origin is the name of the company that Jeff Bezos owns.
Interesting.
Yeah, but we have the research has been done, and they're going to start building these engines, and they have 3.8 million pounds of thrust. Holy cow. And they're talking about space tourism and getting people up into the atmosphere. And Bezos is putting $1 billion of his own money annually into this company.
To try and get nits for tourism.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. And the other part of it is satellites, because a lot of things are based on satellites nowadays.
That's true.
Yeah, so they're launching satellites.
Okay, so Pete, cool? Would you go up?
Absolutely.
You would do
I'd go tonight. Yeah.
You'd go tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd go.
Okay.
Yep.
You know what? I don't think I would.
I would.
And
I'd rather do that than jump out of an airplane. An airplane would be fine, but space? Oh yeah, I'd go in a second.
I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go.
I think it'd be cool.
Do you think?
Oh yeah.
I guess it would. I mean, it's dark. I'm not going to get a suntan.
Dark.
Do you know what I mean?
It's cold.
It's cold. It's
cold,
dark.
If you talk, nobody hears you.
Yeah. I mean, what's up with that?
There's nothing up with it.
I mean, I like.
There's a lot of downside risk.
and you could die.
You could die.
I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm okay with not doing that.
You're okay. Yeah, you got to cross that one off the list.
What am I going to do? I can't I can't move around a lot.
No, probably not.
No,
yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
No.
And so, I mean, I like roller coasters.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but
so you'll take that kind of risk.
I like the roller coaster thing. Well, I meant it's like going on a roller coaster, but really long.
Yeah, it'd be, yeah.
And like, when you get in an airplane, you get excited because you're going to go to a destination,
right?
Oh,
right. Yeah, you're thinking about ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I go into space, I probably wouldn't even get out. So, like, I'm in this little cubicle area where I can't move for a long time, and the food would stink, right? Because there's no
You
person.
would think the food, a tube of ground beef.
Yeah. And I bet you that you wouldn't be able to have a drink. I'm just saying.
A cocktail.
I don't think that.
I like a Manhattan on the rocks.
Okay, so, yeah.
Shaken, not stirred.
No,
All right.
I don't think so.
Okay.
So, anyway, well, let's dive
That's
into.
kind of funny.
Yeah,
All
it is
right.
interesting to
All
think
right,
about
so
it.
no SpaceX for you, or no.
No, unless there's something fun to do on the other end.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that might be a few years.
But I could see, okay, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. You can see
but
the
let
Earth.
somebody else do it.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll
I'll
look at a
go
picture.
do it and report back
Yeah.
for the team.
Just take a
But
picture.
we'll have to start an account now because I think it's fairly expensive for an individual to go. I think it's a lot.
I bet. I bet.
think it's pretty
Well, that's
steep.
fun. Well, that's fun. Well, I could be convinced otherwise, but right now I'm saying no.
You're saying no. Okay.
So tell us a little bit. Okay, so tell the listeners, I should say, we as we coach, we wanted to accumulate lessons learned for leadership, right?
Yeah, right.
And so, how did we gather? How did you gather this?
Well, we do a lot of reading. I guess that's kind of a given. And in fact, if anybody out there wants a copy of our book list, recommended book list, you can email me at PeteMcDowell@actioncoach.com or give us a call at 614-306-7922, and we'll email you a copy of the book list because we read a lot and listen to books a lot.
Right.
And
right.
we also go to conferences at least 3 times a year, sometimes globally, and listen to speakers. So we hear, and the other thing, Peg, is we've worked with dozens of companies every year and hundreds over a period of time. And we see things from a leadership standpoint that work well, and we see things that don't work so well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always trying to help people to get better, right, all the time.
Right,
and and it's all about results, right?
Right, exactly.
Long-term results.
Right.
And improvement, right?
Right.
And that's what we want. And we have distilled this down. And one of the things that got us going is we saw this article about George Washington. I thought, well, that's a good idea to study somebody that was very successful, right?
Which is what we always want to do. That's why we want to read, because
Sure.
we want to learn from others so that we can accelerate our own learning. That's why we learn.
Yeah, and there are always things that people do wrong, right? But we want to focus on the things that they did well. So we're not going to talk about his teeth. We're going to talk about his leadership
I like
ability.
that.
Right?
And remember, as Brad Sugar says, who created Action Coach, you must learn before you earn. And I don't know if that's his quote, but
Well, that's the same kind of thing. And sometimes to be a great leader, you have to get out of your comfort zone. And as much as your comfort zone grows, your company will grow. So that's part of it, too, is to do things that maybe are a little uncomfortable for you.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
All right, so at the break, we were talking about space, and you would not want to go deep underwater either. Like
No.
go down 200
I'd rather
feet.
do space than water.
Yeah. I mean, I think space would be less scary to me than going down 200
too.
feet
I know that
into
sounds
a
funny.
cave or something.
Yeah.
Ew.
I'd rather do space than water.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
But space,
yeah.
you know,
I mean,
yeah.
it's good. Yeah. I mean, it's. I think it's needed for us to learn and understand. But for me to
Right,
just go do
right.
it.
Yeah, let some other people do that
Yeah.
stuff. Right. Yeah, we don't have to do all of it, right?
No.
No, that's why we read books, because these other people have done things that we haven't done.
Yeah. So
We're gonna learn
So
from them.
let's talk a little bit about Washington here, George Washington.
Yeah, it's funny. It says how to lead like George Washington. One of the funny things in this article, it shows two pictures of him on a horse, very majestic, right? And he's got the identical expression, and they're showing defeat and victory.
Right. And it's the same picture. Like
It's
I
the
kept
exact same picture. There's no difference at all. And the message there is he stayed calm all the time. He was always a cool customer.
looking. And it's one of the things that we as coaches constantly tell our leaders who we're coaching is we need to stay. They can never let them see you sweat.
It's, especially in a crisis,
Yeah.
because they're looking to you for where they're headed or where we're headed.
They're looking at your temperament, at your demeanor, at your
Yeah.
body language, at
Right.
your voice tone.
So that's our first point, is to stay calm and to be courageous. And in order to be courageous, you have to have a plan, right? And you need to be able to communicate it. But you've got to be calm. The other thing that, and of course, from all the books we've read, is that if we're calm, even if there is a big crisis going on, we tend to make better decisions.
Right, exactly. Have you ever heard
Right.
of the mood elevator? A lot of people have used that as the mood elevator. They say whenever you are when you're making a decision, to really be aware of your mood. What floor are you on? Are you on the top level? Are you at the bottom level? Or are you evened out? Because when you make decisions, it should be at a calm level, not when you're too high, not when you're too low. Because then those decisions are not the best choices. They can become more emotional than fact-based.
Well, and we've talked about this in previous shows too, is that there may be a time of day that a general time of day that you think is really best for you.
Right.
Like for a lot of people, it's mid-morning, somewhere in there.
There's a book called When, written by Daniel Pink, and it talks about the timing.
Really?
It talks about it talks about different events in the world. And when decisions were made, it wasn't the right time for that decision to be made. And I think it's basically like that mood elevator.
Okay.
And that there's some people that are called larks, which are morning people. And then there's some people that are owls. And then based on whether you're an owl or a lark, you can get your optimum time in which you should be making decisions.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's different for different people.
Different people.
But you have to be sensitive to that.
So one of the things that at Washington, and I'm looking at this article here, he had a combination of seriousness, courage, tenacity, and outsized effort. And this author, a guy named Ron Chernow, wrote a biography about him, and he said it's relentlessness. So staying calm, being courageous, and being relentless. He was focused on, and we have lots of examples from our history books and things like that, but one of the things he did is when they crossed the Delaware, his boat was the first to shove off. I mean, he was the first one to go. He made his Army drum corps practice day and night until they got the music perfect, because everything reflects how you're going to do everything.
Well, exactly.
Even that.
Yes, it's the way you do anything's the way you do everything. So if you're late to work, I'm just thinking about that. If you are saying good enough, is that really what we want? So the first, just to repeat back, the first leadership rule is stay calm and be courageous.
Right.
I like that. And then I liked one of the things, Pete, that you had written here is a reflection question called, and it's like, ask yourself, did I stay calm when it counted today? Like a reflection.
Yeah. We as leaders, we can help ourselves to get better. And it'd also be great to have a trusted advisor at work who occasionally, and they're not going to be with you all the time, but that can give you feedback, especially if you pick a couple of these things and decide to work on them to improve. Like we're going to list 10 things, and you're going to think about a couple of them, I hope anyway, at the end of this, and say, I really want to strive to work on this for myself. Well, you need to pick somebody in your organization to give you feedback occasionally.
I like that.
And they may reinforce something when you've done it well. And they may also say, hey, you kind of lost it with Joe. You tried to get him to go up in space, and he didn't want to go. You made him go anyway.
You made him go to space, yeah. I like that, though, Pete. That's a really good question, reflection. Good. Okay, so what's number 2?
Number 2. So the first one, stay calm, be courageous. The second one is it's not about you. You've got a whole team of people. And some of our organizations, we do executive coaching for larger firms with thousands of employees. And then a lot of these mid-sized companies have a couple hundred people in 50 different locations. One of them does. And it can't be about you. It's about your effect on everything around you. And you've got to think about all those individuals around you, which is kind of fun, right? If you like people.
Right.
It's exciting. And you've got to demonstrate great habits yourself. Mm-hmm. And what we want you to be thinking about is how can I help this person, this employee, or this associate of mine to develop today? Where can I support them to help them be their best?
Well, it's a servant leader.
Yes.
It's a servant leader. And we talk about that as who have you served and how are you serving them? And it was interesting because we do a leadership class, which if you're interested, we have another one starting in January where you can send up-and-coming leaders to a class where we do a 2-hour training. And then in 2 weeks from that training where it's scheduled, we do a check-in with all the people in the class individually. So you get like a coaching session from us. If you're interested in that, you just reach out to us via our website or phone, and we'll give that to you in a second. But it was really interesting because we had somebody in our class, and they said, I know it's not about me, but I like it to be about me, kind of thing. Like I like it to be about me. And it was really, I just loved, number one, that they said it, because that's how we can tackle it. And we said, but when you become a servant leader, there's so much reward. There's so much reward in what you see that eventually it isn't about you and you don't care. Yeah. It will happen. But if you are interested in being a part of this class, give us a call at 614-306-7922. And again, it's Peg and Pete with Business Talk. And we're doing this leadership where you can just throw in one of your managers or an up-and-coming manager into this program. And it meets once a month. Yeah,
and it's a group program, which is a little different for us. And it's a great program where they'll all learn the same thing at the same time, and they'll progress.
And I like your quote under, it's not about you.
Oh, yeah. And again, this is for you to grade yourself. And you could do it at the end of the day when you're driving home or at the end of the week and say, well, how much have I assisted my team? In other words, have I spent time to develop one of my employees?
Oh, well, yes, I like that self-reflection. So that's one.
Yeah.
I also like the quote where it's not about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less. I like that.
Isn't that cool?
I really like that quote.
So here's another thing that Washington did. Let's see. He did blah, blah, blah. Here it is. Oh, yeah. So after it was when they had a battle in New Jersey, in Princeton. After he'd rallied his army to victory, a teary-eyed aide approached him to express his relief that the general hadn't been killed. Washington quietly took the man's hand and changed the subject and said, away, dear Colonel, and bring me the troops. He wanted to talk to the men. He said, you don't worry about me. It's not about me.
It's about them.
Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Okay, so the third. Now, what this is we're going through Peg and Pete's 10 leadership roles. We're on number 3.
Number 3, emotional intelligence. All great leaders in every type of organization, whether it's a sports organization or a business or any type of business, all of them have high emotional intelligence.
Well, and Darren Hardy speaks on this, and Darren Hardy wrote the book Compound Effect. He also was a publisher, I think, of Success Magazine.
Right.
And he talked about, he says, looking even at candidates as you're hiring, how critically important emotional intelligence is. And he sort of simply, he said it's a body thing. And some of his ideas about what is emotional intelligence, he said IQ is your head, EQ is everything else. And your ability to be kind and more than empathetic, but kindness. And he was talking about, your IQ is where you talk, right? He said EQ is you're using your eyes and your ears, right? Because you're listening and looking at what the situation is and adjusting it. Yep. He was saying that you're listening to your gut because you know that there's something there.
And sometimes it's about you. Emotional intelligence is really two halves. It's about understanding how I'm feeling myself and how to manage that. And it's about understanding the other person's feelings that I'm interacting with and managing that.
Correct.
So it's really both of those things, and they're both important.
Well, and with emotional intelligence, and when we walk in, a lot of times when we see a culture that is broken, it's usually it is about emotional intelligence because people have decided to be unkind to each other, and when you see people recoiling or not participating, those are all signs that you have to step up and fix it.
Well, in a lot of cases, they've been injured by somebody at work, and so they don't give their best because they got pushed back or brushed back or verbally slapped.
Yeah, and I like one of the things is with this emotional intelligence. If you haven't had your we go in and do this with companies, and we can do it with your company, absolutely. If your team hasn't gone through that training or education of it, it can really, it's one of the first things we do.
It's excellent.
Because it is the one thing, emotional intelligence can be turned around. You can fix it. And that's why cultures can be fixed.
Right. So there's three big aspects to your behavior. One is your IQ, one is your behavior profile or DISC profile, and the other is this emotional intelligence. And it's the only one of the three that you can actively raise it up. You can get better at this.
And when we walk into companies and we show change, which we have a couple companies right now that we're working with, and they're like, we can see change after a couple months. One of the things we do is emotional intelligence. That's one of the first areas we work on because we know that that's what leaders have to have high of. Because remember, everything's a mirror. So your team is doing things that reflect you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we want to make sure that your mirror, that your actions are what you want duplicated, right? You can't. Perfect. What's that one saying that you want to avoid? It's not don't do what I say what I do. Like, we don't say that. Okay. You have to walk the talk, right?
Right. So that one, the tip there is to ask yourself, what do you have somebody at work that can give you feedback?
I like that.
If you don't, let's try to seek somebody out.
Well, in all of these cases, I'm seeing a reflection question, Pete. Of making sure that you take time to do a self-analysis, which is actually emotional intelligence, too. It's your ability to be self-aware. And
yes, it's a key to it.
It is a key. And if you're not self-aware, making sure that you do have a non-emotional person tied into it that can give you advice.
Right, great. So the next one we're going to talk about is accountability. And when we get back, we'll spend a few minutes on this, but we want to make sure that you're starting with a good example of being held accountable yourself. So if you tell an employee, hey, I'm going to give you a review after 90 days of being on the job, make sure you do it.
There's that reflection again we keep coming up with. It's a mirror.
Could your business use some help? Call 614-306-7922 to schedule your coaching session. 614-306-7922. Now, here's more business talk.
So we're talking today about Peg and Pete's 10 leadership rules, and we've gotten through 3 of them, and we just mentioned accountability right before the break. And one of the things in our research we found, have you guys ever seen a stone arch? An archway when you go into an old building or a church or something like that, all made out of giant stones. Well, the Romans used to have the guy that designed the arch stand under it when the capstone was set, and they took away all the
I didn't
bracing.
know that. I did not know that.
And it's accountability, right? I mean, you definitely know that I better have designed this thing properly. And they didn't have calculus back then.
I like it. And right before the break, so as Pete and I have put together these 10 leadership traits. We really, you could pick so many things. This is one of the things where I see when a company is inconsistent, I'm seeing that it's about accountability because they're not holding everybody accountable in a consistent in a consistent way. And sometimes we get feedback saying, I just want everybody to be treated fair. And sometimes we get this, like, it's not fair. I'm going to treat somebody one way versus another. And I think when teams say that, I don't think that they mean that you need to be uniform in addressing everything. I think what they want is consistency. Mm-hmm. And that is really done through accountability.
Right.
It's making sure that we are accountable that we're holding everybody accountable in a consistent way.
And your customers want things done in a consistent way. They want to be treated
correct
in a similar way all the time, so that if I call in on a Tuesday and I call in on a Thursday, I'm still going to get the same great response from you. And this habit is one of the most important things you can do. It's a foundation you can build on. And if you don't have this, you can't grow. It's very difficult.
I really like what you just said. You said habit. Because one of the things like that Pete as examples is, I love these examples, timely attendance at meetings.
Yeah, we have a meeting at 10 o'clock. Don't show up at 10 after.
We start at 8 in the morning. Don't show up at 8:10. Guys listening to this, I'm telling you, it's disrespectful to your team members around you.
Right.
Let alone the people who employ you.
Well, there are people depending on you.
Right. It's not right. There's no excuse for it. Stay accountable to your behavior and be on time. End your meetings and start your meetings on time.
Right.
Or early. You can end early. Nobody ever complains about a meeting ending early. If you notice me, whenever we have meetings, if I'm 1 to 2 minutes over, I apologize. Mm-hmm. I'll say, you know what, I apologize.
But most of the time you end when you said you were going to end.
Yes.
If not a little early. And again, you managers and business owners out there, if you promise something to someone, make sure you do it. Even if it's small, you've got to set the example on this accountability thing.
I remember one case study that one company that we were working with, this is a few years, they had the sales manager, and he was really good at what he did. He was super, just fantastic. But one of the things he did is he kept promising things, and he never followed through. And so his team was getting really frustrated. And then it became a joke, like, never tell Sam that, Sam will never follow through. So we were trying to create a habit way that he could document. And he's like, well, I don't carry paper and pen around. How am I going to do it? And we're like, talk into your phone and create a list.
Right.
Every time you say you're going to do something, put it in your phone on your notes page to make sure, because you're losing credibility, you're losing trust, and you're setting a standard that other people think it's okay to say one thing and do another. Oh,
absolutely. If you're in charge of a large organization, what you do is that you're setting an example. So if you set a great example, it's going to come back to you.
Well, and I guess that leads into our number 5, doesn't it? Our number 5 leadership rule.
It's good. Be generous. And it doesn't just mean with pay. Mm-hmm. It's about when a great thing happens, share the credit. You don't have to be the one that gets the credit, right? And I worked with a gentleman in Chicago years ago. He was a superintendent at Burdell. And he's a great guy. And one of the things he said is that, you know what, if great things happen around here, I'll eventually get some credit because he's in charge of this whole production area. He said, but I'm going to tell these guys, he was talking about his own supervisors in the plant, I'm going to make sure it's them that feel great about it. Because that's the most important thing.
So I have to tell you this wonderful conversation that I got to hear in the last week. And it was about this generous and sharing the credit. So I had an upcoming leader talk to the president of a fairly large company. Mm-hmm. And this leader was just becoming a manager. And the leader and the president was giving words of wisdom while I was there coaching, because I'm going to be coaching both, right?
Right.
And he said, make sure to always give credit to your people. And he goes, but then when do I ever get credit? And then he goes, and the bigger question, how do you ever get credit? And the president looked at him and said, when you are at my level, it's not about, hey, Sam, you did a good job. It's about your customers emailing you about your manager. He goes, my credit was I just got an email that said so-and-so did a fantastic job as a customer. I'm really happy. He goes, that's my credit.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So your credit shifts because you're building people. And you don't want to take, hey, I built that person. No, you want that delivery to be so awesome.
Right.
Of a customer experience that's the credit you take away.
So as a leader of an organization like that, you can take pride in the fact that a customer loved what your employees did, that whole team of people, And you can take pride in the fact that they're excited and want to thank your employees,
well,
right?
Exactly.
So perfect.
Exactly. And it's teaching those things. And so often, guys, I want you to listen to. Okay, so how many of you have said, hey, so-and-so needs to be a manager. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a promotion. You've done it without any training. And I want to raise my hand because I equally have been made a manager with no training. This is obviously ages ago because that's what you did. And
but this happens a lot, Peg.
It does.
This is not an accident.
And this is why Pete and Michelle and I have a program, a leadership development program that's very super simple, that we have people do it. It's on a monthly basis that you can come in and learn these things because these things need to be taught because not everybody knows this. It's not necessarily intuitive for everyone, and you can teach leadership. And you can grow to be a great leader.
Right.
And darn it, get in that class. If you guys have a manager who you have interested in having this class, it's very low price. It's very affordable. It's not a ton of time, but it's going to give them what they need. Give us a call at
614-306-7922.
For this. In the leadership, it starts in January.
Right.
So, I mean, I know we're far, well, this couple months.
Yeah, it's not that
but
far
it's
away.
a great program. But it's
so you got to start your Christmas shopping, too, by the way.
It's these kind of things that I like, right? That these tips that people need to listen to.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Yeah,
to number
we're ready
6?
to move on. So we want you also to believe in your people. You want to have faith in them.
Okay, so describe a little bit about what do you mean by that?
Well, what it means is, there's a good concept called situational leadership where, let's say if I know that you're a skilled person at this certain task, Peg, I'm going to give you this task, and I know that you're already highly skilled and highly motivated in completing jobs like this, I'm going to just give it to you and tell you what the end result is and split. And I know it's going to get done perfectly. And you'll be finished with it, and you'll do it in a way that's probably better than I could do it.
Well, and it sounds like one of the things, Pete, I'm hearing you say is that you believe in your team. Because most people, what happens in some cases is that some people don't believe in themselves as much as other people believe in them. And that's what the drive is.
Oh, true. Right.
Because in coaching, sometimes we'll see, and I'll say, I have more faith in you than you have in you. And we got to switch that because you have no idea that I see the possibilities.
And I have a couple clients that I'm thinking of where I know that they can accomplish certain things, and they don't know. They're fearful, and they're thinking, "Well, I'm not capable of that." I know they are.
They don't.
And
know
they will
yet.
be able to do it.
Right.
Yep.
And so your job is what I'm hearing you say is to
it's again serving, right, and it's supporting,
believing in them,
help them up when they're a little weak, right?
I like that.
And only as much as they need, but you got to be there when they really need you.
I like that.
And you got to manage. That's the other trick, is that you got to manage everybody a little differently. You can't use the same style in every situation with every person. You've got to adjust.
Yeah. And that's that situational leadership, too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is that situational leadership. Okay, good. Okay, one more before break.
One more
and
before
again,
break.
This is Peg and Pete with Business Talk, talking about the 10 leadership rules.
Yeah.
And, okay, are we at number 6 or 7?
We are on number 7.
Okay.
And it's having a clear sense of purpose.
Okay. Having a clear sense for yourself as well as the company.
Right.
Well, I guess if you're a leader, you're leading the company with this purpose,
and
right?
a corollary to that is you got to be able to communicate it to everybody all day long. Your purpose should be very clear to everybody.
Well, what good is a purpose if you're not sharing it, right?
Well, and I don't know, maybe you haven't, but I've been in organizations before where it wasn't clear.
I think,
and it's pretty frightening, you know.
Oh, Pete, I think there's a lot
confusing.
of companies where it's not clear. And here's the thing, guys, you don't realize it's not clear. So,
well, and sometimes departments will create their own. Right?
Oh, yeah.
If it's not clear from the top, well, this is what I think we should do, and we're going to go do it. You know.
And here's how you can do it. We'll do this as coaches sometime is we'll go in and say, how clear is your purpose or your vision? Does everybody know? And they're like, yes. And we'll say, if we go to 3 random people and ask what the purpose is, would they say the same thing?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or would they say the same thing that you're saying?
It's not always easy to answer that, right?
So I guess that's 2 things or 3 things. Purpose for yourself, Pete, right?
Yeah.
Purpose for the company in that whole thing.
Right.
And then communicating it.
How do you get that across to everybody in the organization, particularly if you have multiple locations in multiple states and things like that? Are you sure that everybody knows? Then we need to hire with that purpose in mind, too, so that we get people on board that are passionate about what we're all
that
about.
Purpose, the alignment. Right. That does make a whole lot of sense. And a lot of times, if we don't have that vision, people can get very frustrated.
Well, and you tend to discourage your best people if it's not crystal clear vision.
That is true.
And the opposite's true of that. You can inspire your greatest folks when your vision's clear.
So when we return, we'll go and finish this.
The last three.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
All right, we're talking today about our 10 leadership rules. We've gotten through some of them. We've got 3 left.
Right. And what we did is looking at us coaching for the last 14 years, what is it if we're talking to a manager, a leader, an organization, do we say, okay, this is what we're walking away with? Right. That when you can get these 10 I guess, rules down, that you are really going to be doing well.
You're going to get amazing results. And the great thing about this is that the better you get at these things, the less effort it will take to get your organization to do great things.
I like it.
It's about saving some energy, right?
And should we repeat just quickly the first 7 because we're on 8 now, right? Let's go back and repeat.
Yeah.
And
do you want to whip through them?
I'll do the first one. Stay calm and be courageous is number 1.
Yep.
2, it's not about you.
Darn.
Number 3, I guess act with emotional intelligence.
That would be great.
Which would help you stay calm, by the way. Some of these are all interlinked. Number 4, accountability. Holding yourself accountable first and then others. And then you take over from there, Pete. You go with
number 5 is being generous. So sharing credit wherever possible.
And sharing time and sharing.
Oh, yeah.
Sharing your knowledge.
Everything.
It's about sharing everything.
Teaching and all that and support. And then number 6, we talked about believing in your folks, making sure that they know that you support them and that you'll help them wherever they need your support.
And that's your inspiration part, right? Because you always have to be inspired, right? And inspiring.
And then having a clear sense of purpose. So you know why you're coming to work every morning, and then your team knows why they're there.
And that's what we
did.
Other
than the technical part of their job, but what is it that's really driving this organization?
Picture.
The bigger picture, right?
I like that.
Yeah, so we've got 3 left.
Okay, number 8.
Number 8, let's talk about being approachable. So have you had a boss before in your past, let's say corporate past, that wasn't approachable?
Yes.
You can see a picture of a person in front of you.
You can. And let's describe what means that. You know what? Sometimes we talk about what you do want. Sometimes it's good to describe what you don't want to be. So not being approachable would be people being intimidated by you to approach you.
Oh, right. That's one way.
A lot of times you might not know that. So what would be an intimidating be? Sometimes if you're a strong personality, you have to watch it. Because people get intimidated because you might be too loud or too strong.
Some people give negative feedback when you ask a question that maybe you should already know that. Mm-hmm. You know, that kind of thing.
That's a good one.
Sometimes people aren't available.
Oh,
they don't have time for you.
Their door is closed.
I've had that happen before. Like, I need to talk to you.
You're busy, meaning I'm going to be on my phone as I'm walking through the hallways.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to listen. I'm going to talk quickly because I know I only have a minute. I've had this where you leave in the middle of a sentence. These are all examples, guys, from all different companies that I'm hearing.
Right.
Because being approachable is really critical to success, and not being approachable is very common heard from us about leaders.
So if you have an organization, we want you to be visible, right? To be seen, to be heard, you know, and again, sharing your vision. And also, if somebody has a question, that it's okay to ask you a question. You're going to give them a kind response to the best of your knowledge and help them if you can.
And here's a tip. A lot of times, your organization, you might be intimidating just by the role of being a president or a director or a manager.
Right.
And that might not even be anything about you. It could be about the other person just being
fearful. I'm fearful to talk to the president.
Fearful to talk. So one thing that is your job is to break that barrier down, break that wall down, and go up to people and ask how they're doing, or take them for a coffee, or take a moment.
Show genuine concern.
Show it, yes. Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, Allie and John and I, we've been touring colleges. And one of the things I've been noticing that the different tour guides have been saying is when the president is approachable. It's really interesting. They go, oh, you'll see like Gordon Gee, who used to be at Ohio State, is now at West Virginia. And they're like, oh, he was out riding his bike and he was taking pictures and he was doing this. And then we were at Kentucky.
It means a lot.
They said the same thing. They go, the president was out here. Oh, my gosh, he was just running in his suit, like just jogging around the campus. Like that made our tour. And it was so important to that person giving us our tour.
It's huge, yeah.
It's about approachability.
Yeah, so they get that one. They get a star for that.
Yes.
The next one, you'll like this one, Peg. It's passion.
Okay.
You got to be passionate about what you're doing, right?
Oh,
you
my
really
gosh.
have to be.
You do.
No matter what it is.
You have to have that. It's that energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's that excitement.
Right.
Because that is contagious.
It's contagious.
It is.
Yep.
And so with the passion, which I loved, you know, it's also about the why, which circled back earlier of the purpose.
Right. You know, and I'm laughing because I'm thinking about that Steve Jobs quote. We read the book, his biography, not an autobiography, but a biography a while ago. And then we've seen other articles about him. And one of his was just excellence, just plain excellence and efficiency of design and making things look great and also functional. But he would not accept anything that wasn't awesome in his mind, right?
And if
he was so passionate about it but he attracted other people that wanted to create really cool things.
And when you do think of Steve Jobs, you're right, you think of passion.
Oh, yeah.
You really do think of that. And this is Peg and Pete with Business Talk. We're going through the 10 top leadership rules that Pete and I have put together after coaching for the last 14 years, what we think are really just some priorities. And passion is our number 9. Number nine is to have passion. And what do we say to somebody who doesn't have passion?
Are you in the right business?
Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, I want to tell you, I had somebody who wasn't very passionate that we started coaching, and what we found is they weren't in the right role as president. In other words, what was happening, because one thing I always say is, are you having fun?
Oh, right.
And I often hear no. And I'm like, okay, let's break this down.
Right.
Let's break this down and figure out. And then what we do is we look at the role that you're playing and the task that you're doing.
Right.
And you're probably doing things you're not supposed to do.
Well, and we have a business owner that we've been working with for quite some time, and she is changing her role to one of having just one person report to her because she's not excited about leading a group of people, and not everybody is excited about that. She loves the business, and she loves the technical side of operating the business. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily managing the employees. So she doesn't have to do that anymore.
Right. You know? And that's okay.
It is okay.
And that is okay.
It's absolutely okay.
I like that. Okay, passion was number 9. Okay, and here's our last one.
There we go,
last
number 10.
Leadership role.
And this, hopefully this is easy for everybody. It's just to be authentic. Be yourself.
There's a book called True North, which is authentic leadership.
Oh, yeah. Who's the author?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay, because I couldn't remember myself.
I don't know, but I really like that book because it talks about how you get at your authentic. How did you become a leader? And it's a reflective, and we do a training called True North. Mm-hmm. We actually will train off of that. We guide you through who were your biggest leadership influences in your family, who were your biggest impact in leaders, whether it was a coach or an experience. And that's how you end up becoming the leader you are, is generally through those experiences.
And there's events that we've all had that have shaped who we are at work and at home.
Right.
And those things are really important to reflect on.
Right.
How you got that way.
Well, in the events, all of us have what's called a crucible. It's a moment in which was a really bad time for us, whether it could be a death in a family, it could be a divorce, it could be that you got fired. It's an emotional moment that truly makes you more authentic. And so if you don't feel you're an authentic leader, there is a process to find that in you, to be you.
Leadership's something that can be developed, there's no doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
I had somebody ask me that the other day. They go, what's better in a leader, a born leader or one that's developed? And I said, yes. I said, it's an and, because this
you absolutely can become a great leader.
Absolutely.
If you choose to do it. It's something that can be learned.
It is about choice.
Yeah.
It is about choice.
So what do we do with all this stuff? We've got a few notes here. So some of the things, if you guys are listening out there and go, wow, these 10 things sound great, it's a little overwhelming because I can think of some areas where maybe I could do a little better. Number 1 we want you to do is give yourself a break. Pat yourself on the back, and you're as good as you are right now because that's where you've been.
I like that.
And if there are a couple things that you need to brush up on, let's accept it. Let's pick a couple of those and figure out, well, what would it look like when I was great at this attribute or this habit? What would it look like? And get a clear vision of what it would be like at work if you were executing on that very well all the time.
Okay, I like that.
So get clear on that. And then we want you to think about some strategies. Well, how could I actually implement some of this in a small way to start creating a habit?
I got it. I like that.
And it would be helpful if you had somebody at work that could help you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a coach. It could be a coworker, an employee,
and help
associate.
you with which thing, what to improve and how you're doing.
Well, it could be that, and it could be about, they could help you if you pick a couple things off this list and say, these are probably the 2 things I could improve on most. It might be good to give the whole list to somebody and say, what do you think? And if they come up with the same 2, that'd be great.
Well, and part of our part of our leadership development program, we do have you every month pick the one characteristic you're going to work on and apply it that month. That's one
a
of
Ben
the
Franklin habit. Yeah.
That's what, and make it in a habit. Right. And we do this as a group, and we discuss it, and we talk about what that means. And it's just powerful. That's very powerful.
Right. So a habit of self-reflection and focus on continuous improvement of yourself, working on yourself.
I like that.
And then find somebody to give you feedback throughout the workday. And that depends on your situation. If you're in an office setting where you have coworkers and people that are in a lot of your meetings, you could pick someone that, hey, I'm working on this particular thing about not interrupting folks in meetings. I'm just giving one that I have done in the past is
that was a habit you tried to do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Give me some feedback on this, when it happens.
Did you used to do it? Did somebody tell you you used to do it?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you do that anymore.
Well, okay, but I did.
Well, as a matter of fact, Pete, now that you're talking about it, and I remember, but that is good to work on.
Yeah.
That is very good, and it's sometimes it's hard to hear, but just know that it's for the better good, and that in the end, it's all about improving for you and your team.
Right. It's about getting better. It's not that you're bad. It's not.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just about getting better.
And
that's all.
Okay. And I like also the one that you had, which was don't beat yourself up. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's below the line. We don't want you to be blaming yourself. You're not allowed to do that.
Right. And remember that people will always follow you, too. So whatever you're doing, they're doing. So if you're beating yourself up, they're going to beat up themselves.
It's okay to recognize that you did something in a situation that wasn't your best. It's cool to recognize it. But then once you've recognized it, take some action on it. But don't stay there all day.
Right.
That's really what we're trying to say.
And go to our website, takeactionbusinesscoaching.com, for this show in its entirety or other shows that we've pre-recorded, as well as our series with NBC4, Daytime Columbus.
This has been Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed were those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given was not intended to replace that of your business advisor. For more information about the topics discussed today, call 614-306-7922. 614-306-7922. Tune in next week at this time for more Business Talk, your business, your success.